Hello out there. Welcome to the Heavy Montes podcast and my comedy show, December 2nd, 2025. Now, in America, I want to talk about Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump fights for the billionaires, hard for the billionaires. He represents the billionaires. At the same time, telling the American people that he supports them. I have a CD here. This is one right here. I'm going to show it to you. And the title of the CD is Do You Love Me? You understand? And the first song on the CD is Torn Between Two Lovers. The Republican Party, the governors, and the people in the House and the Senate, and that maggot Supreme Court, they are torn between two lovers. And the two lovers are the Constitution, which is the American people, and Donald Trump. They have chosen Donald Trump, and Donald Trump has chosen them. For example, Donald Trump was speaking to the people who own McDonald's, and this is what he said. Heavy had it right here on his mobile phone. He said to the franchise owners, the minimum wage thing, you're going to have to fight. You people probably know the impact of good or bad. Let your local congressman know about it. You understand? When the president tells McDonald's franchise to owners to increase to fight against the minimum wage, you know, he is fighting against the American people. So remember, he said, tell your representative, and those representatives are Republicans that stop you from getting any kind of help. Don't even want to pay you. Now, when I was a little boy, about 12, 13, or 14, I said, I'm going to go get a job at McDonald's. And I last 20 minutes. I mean, then people work me to death at McDonald's. When you working for McDonald's is a hard job. They should be paying you more money. It's a restaurant. And now they're doing AI. You know what I'm saying? Get rid of the people. Not even going to give you minimum wage. You see? Because Donald Trump and the Republican Party, they're saying AI is the way to go. The people don't need to work. You see, America, you got to get rid of those damn Republicans and don't vote for them. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more today about Donald Trump and who and what he is. Now, every month you see Donald Trump like this, okay? I got it right here on my mobile phone. Donald Trump is not a president. He's a freaking gangster. He's having a good time, you know, relishing the power that he has to destroy the world and the American people because nobody likes that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? He's a minus 24, minus 25 in approval rating because the world hate that son of a bitch because they know who the hell he is. The people that love him are the fools, the ignorant, the blind. You understand? People who have been dumbed down, people who have been told they're white. You understand? And people who are told that he told them he could do something for them and make America great again. He made them broke again, unemployed again, and soulless and godless again. America. So he's a freaking gangster. He's not a leader. He's a fucking criminal. You understand? A malignant hustler who's using the occupation of the White House to feed his ego and run roughshod over the morals and ideals that have inspired the world. They say they are world. I say the world because he affects the world. He and the Republican Party. They allow Ukraine to burn and have our NATO allies, in trouble. Russia blackmailing them when we can crush that son of a bitch. You understand? And get rid of him. Now, if you don't notice, Patton said this when he had the army there. Patton said, one day, these Russians are going to come and get us. Let us destroy them now. And they killed Patton, they said. A decorated general got hit by a deuce-and-a-half truck and killed because he wanted to destroy Russia at the time because he knew and saw what Russia was, an enemy of the American people in the world. So no amount of lies can cover up or hide Donald Trump failures. Now, America, The man is a fucking criminal, and he go to jail. Now, Donald Trump is pardoning people. He just pardoned a narco terrorist who trafficked 400 tons of cocaine into the United States, a former president. At the same time, telling us he's killing fucking people over in Venezuela, right? Because he want to steal those fucking people oil. You understand? And he's pardoning somebody who did that 400 tons of cocaine, and he's letting them go. He pardoned them because they said he probably getting kickbacks for that shit. You know, he got people like Brian Donald from, he's out of Florida, told me he'd be governor, a black man. They ain't gonna elect no goddamn black man in the rich fucking state of Florida. Them people in Florida so goddamn stupid. You know what I'm saying? They're ignorant and they're suffering. If you live in Florida, you better get your ass out of that Republican Party. You understand? Because the Spanish people coming for you. Now the Spanish will help tell you. Huh? You wanted to send my Spanish buddies and my homeboys to Alligator Alley. You dirty, low down dog. We're gonna put Donald Trump and his whole fucking cabinet when we arrest them bastards for treason. We're gonna send them motherfuckers to Alligator Alley. He likes it. Now Brian Donald, he said he ran up for, governor. He meant to say master. Brian Donald's ripped apart by his critics for calling Donald Trump daddy on Fox News. You see what I'm trying to tell you? It's all about the money. You see what I'm saying? And that's what I told you. White and black don't matter. It's the ideology. And Brian Donald is ideology is the one of the slave master. You understand? He is a fucking house slave. You understand? Went down to South Carolina, Charleston, my hometown. He was sitting in a cigar bar telling the black people that Jim Crow is good. Look at you, son of a bitch. I was raised in Jim Crow, and I had to be home at 6:30, and I've almost been shot by cops because I wasn't home in time. You understand? You understand? I was going to Tommy O'Shea's bar, and I got to sneak through the white community to get downtown. And I was walking, and the cop stopped me on a horse, and I had my pistol with me. Okay? I could have blown his fucking brains out. Nobody would have fucking seen it and seen him feed that motherfucker to the alligators. You know what I'm saying? But thou shalt not kill. Huh? I said, okay, sir, I'm getting back on my property if you let me go. Because I will not hurt another human being. But, hey, a maggot, that motherfucker shoots down. Teaching his children, you understand, to have AK-47, destroyed his own self, destroyed his farm. You understand what I'm saying? Because he's a dumbass. You know what I'm trying to tell you? And I don't buy shit from a maggot. You understand? Keep all your fucking money in the liberal community. You see, do them the same goddamn way they did do us, America. We don't play with those people, and we want to try to keep our money in the blue states. You understand? We want to turn Michigan back blue. You know what I'm trying to tell you, and bring back that wall. Okay, it is very important, America, to reestablish that blue wall and never ever let the Republicans win again. That party need to be dissolved. There's some traitorous bastards. Now, everybody want to go on a little bit. Now, I want to say something to everybody out there, all you married men. How would you like it if the President of the United States used the word he used, effed, F-U-C-K. Too early in the morning to use that word. He said he's going to F-U-C-K your wife. He loves having sex with married women. And in his words, quote, unquote, I did try and F her. She was married. I moved her like a bitch, but I couldn't get there. She was married. Then all of a sudden, I see her. She now got the big phony tits and everything, he said. That's how you talk about our women, our children, our mothers. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the PC. You can do anything. Quote, unquote. I am God. I can rip a 12-year-old. Huh? I can do what the hell I want to do. You understand? In Heavy Monty's opinion, that's what the bastard is saying. But they voted for this motherfucker. You understand? They put him in, an ignorant man. To tell him a gun can't even count. Somebody ought to ask him a math question while you're reporting. How much is 2 plus 2? The fucker probably wouldn't even know. Now, quiet, piggy. You need to be quiet, you pig. And Heavy called him a pig from the beginning. And the title of my podcast is He a Fucking Pig? And I want everybody to let me know how you think about that. So quiet, you McDonald's sucking pig. That's what you are. And we want your ass out of the White House. We want your fucking ass in jail with all of your cohorts. Not in America. Heavy going to continue going here. Now, Heavy Monte has called for a presidential crime commission to put these bastards in prison where the fuck they belong. Okay? And I'm going to say something else. They said they need to create what they call a tribunal. And all these people who are in Donald Trump's cabinet, who are doing this stuff, and who came up with that treasonous document, should be tried for treason, locked up, you understand, and put in jail, you understand? And they say the death penalty should come from treason. Heavy Monty don't believe in the death penalty, but I think it is appropriate in this case. If somebody does what they did to our country and slaughtered all those fucking people, and they killed all the people worldwide, and did the things that they did, cancer research, you understand, and slaughtered all those people in Ukraine, motherfuckers should go to jail. Now, Heavy Monte calls for a tribunal, you understand, a presidential crime community. And these are the people that I feel that should be wanted for crimes against humanity. You understand? Donald Trump, Vance, Stephen Miller, Marco Rubio, Bondi, Noam, that asshole, you don't see him anymore, the head of that goddamn on ICE, Tom Homan. We want to know where the $54 million is that son of a bitch stole. We coming back for you, motherfucker. We're going to investigate and lock your ass up. You understand? Send your fat ass to Alligator Alley. You'll make a nice goddamn sandwich for a fucking alligator. Cash Patel. Cash Patel. Pete Hester. That motherfucker was guilty of murder. You know what I'm saying? Killing people on a boat, they say. That goddamn John Thune. John Thune? He backed the president. He took away your food, took away your insurance, took away everything away from you. That motherfucker should be tried for treason. That son of a bitch, closeted gay Mike Johnson and all of those ICE agents should go to fucking jail. Okay? And what should they go to jail? Let Heavy Monte be clear. Human rights, civil rights violations against constitutional law, violation of international maritime law. You understand? Ethnic, racial profiling, what they did to the Hispanics, abuse of power, dereliction of duty, murder. They will be held accountable. Now, in America, I want to talk to you about Afghanistan and set the record straight on that lying, low-down, dirty dog, Donald Trump. Now, Heavy Monte wants to tell you the truth. You understand? This is not an opinion here. These are facts. This was what happened. So you know. Okay. The Afghanistan withdrawal. Trump negotiated directly with the Taliban to withdraw U.S. troops by May 1st, 2021. That low-down, dirty dog and stink-ass shit in the pants pig freed 5,000 Taliban prisoners and withdrew 10,500 to be exact U.S. troops, leaving only 2,500 troops in a country of 41 million Afghanistans. With no support from Congress now. He did this shit. You understand? Biden had no choice but to honor the agreement Trump negotiated. And then the Republicans come out because they don't stand for shit because they're creeps and say Biden did all this shit. And Biden won't bring the Afghanistan home and give them comfort. And Trump did. He brought that son of a bitch home and gave him comfort after Biden, after he did that. And that guy killed those people in West Virginia. But the slave master, the guy in West Virginia, why in the fuck you send those people to Washington, D.C. to invade our capital? And it was a legal order. So you're responsible for killing that woman and killing that guy, the governor of West Virginia and Donald Trump. You understand? They are the ones who had these people murdered. You understand? So you need to know that. You understand? Donald Trump is a fucking liar. And so is that governor of West Virginia. Okay. Now, I talked earlier about Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, and that fake ass shit they do in Venezuela to try to steal their fucking oil. Now, Donald Trump said he fights drugs, right? Trump to pardon the Honduras president, Juan Orlando Hernandez. He was he was literally convicted and sentenced to 45 years in prison again for trafficking 400 tons of cocaine in the U.S. And he said he's going to pardon the guy. At the same time, he's talking about, you see what I'm saying? You can get it, you know. And the people are saying that, there might be some drug use going on with him. You know what I'm saying? So we need to check that out. Okay. Now, this lady, going back to the National Guardsman that got killed, her name was Sarah Beckstrom. Okay, don't talk about her. Heavy going to talk about her because I feel a little bad about the situation. Young lady with all of her life in front of her. That's why you don't follow a fucking illegal order. You lose your goddamn life. Let Donald Trump go out there and fight. Let his children put on a suit, and military shit and go out there. His grandchildren, let him fight. Send his son. He's barren. Go volunteer. Go to Afghanistan. You know what I'm saying? And go to the war. They won't do it. They said no Trump has ever served in the military because he says, you're suckers and losers. Me, Heavy Monte, give 12 years of my life to my country in the military. You understand? I'm not a fucking loser, sucker. I love my country and I will die for it. You understand? But you won't. You won't. You won't do it because you're a creep, Donald Trump. You and the 77 million dogs that voted for you. Now, Sarah Beckman was 20 years old. She had her entire life in front of her. A judge ruled, listen to me, that her deployment in D.C. Was illegal a week ago. Trump said, screw it. I don't give a damn about the judge. What happened to her was unforgivable, and I blame the man responsible for putting her in harm's way. Donald Piggy Blowjob Trump. Okay? Most Americans, we don't want him to be impeached. We want that motherfucker charged with treason and jail. Okay. Now, right now, Donald Trump has broken the law and should be in jail. And Heavy's going to break it down to you and tell you why. According to the Constitution, Donald Trump can now be arrested for contempt of the Supreme Court, the maggots. You understand who he controls. They probably won't do it because they are Donald Trump. Those 6 maggots. They're treacherous bastards. And I call them that. Donald Trump, that they just fucked up. Just say it that way. Anyway, Trump violated and ignored a unanimous Supreme Court order. According to the law, he can be handcuffed by U.S. Marshals and removed from the White House and placed in federal custody pending a trial. Supreme Court, arrest the motherfucker. If you don't, we'll impeach that Supreme Court. They didn't protect us. If I took, and the Supreme Court said, Heavy, get off the fucking air. And if you come back on, I'm going to lock your ass up. If I came back on the air, they'll lock my ass up. So because the law is not for me. It's only for the rich and Donald Trump. A man can do these things and still, you understand, walk around and violated the Supreme Court order and said, fuck you. And Project 2025 says it. The Supreme Court is Project 2025. They probably got a copy of the motherfucking document, reading it illegal, making sure they make our life miserable. Okay? You understand? Donald Trump is the most corrupt, lying, uninformed, divisive, incompetent, unhinged, pathetic excuse for president in the history of mankind. You understand? Somebody told me that a drunk, a rapist, and a hooker, they walked into a bar. You understand? And people needed to identify them. You do the identification yourself. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about Donald Trump and the Epstein files. I think Donald Trump's a fucking pedophile. And I want to run down a list, and it's going to take a little bit of time here, America. And this podcast is running long, but we need to do this. Okay, Donald Trump. Okay, freed an Oklahoma man who was affiliated with the Republican Party. His name was Fred Underwood, they say, and he has been arrested for sexually assaulting a minor. You understand? Huh? North Dakota Republican Senator Ray Holberg has been sentenced to 10 years in prison for traveling aboard 14 times to rip children. You understand? You see? These are Republicans. And remember, the Republican Speaker of the House, Dennis Hastings, went to jail for being a pedophile and raping children and trying to cover it up. Okay, a right-wing conspiracy terrorist from Indiana, Austin Coffey, has been found guilty for child molestation. Now, I'm pulling this stuff right off the web. You understand? And if I made any mistake, I apologize, but this is what I have. Okay? Also, they said a right-wing school board member arrested for sexually abusing a child. Okay? They say that MAGA youth pastor and CPAC performer Zachary Radcliffe has been charged with 30 additional child sexual abuse charges. They say a Wisconsin white supremacist, you understand, has been sentenced to 13 years in prison for sexually abusing children. We will keep going, America. A Texas, you understand, worship pastor has been arrested for possession and production of child sexual abuse images. You understand? And they say that they are videotapes that exist of Donald Trump having sex with children. That's what they say. Okay, and those Epstein files. That's what they say. Okay? Now, I don't know, but that's what they say. So let's see the files. A Wisconsin MAGA candidate drops out of the governor's race after a transgender porn scandal. A Miami Republican who molested a boy in church bathroom said the devil made him do it. Just a reminder, a hooker and a con man, they say, is running America. A high-priced hooker, they said. And a man convicted of 34, felons, counts. A con man, rather than a show, they say. Just the facts. You understand? They say that, and in closing, never, ever vote for a Republican. And before I leave, remember, I am still talking to you about getting rid of every one of those House members, Republicans in Michigan. And if America, if this next statements relate to your Republican congressman, if he did these things, you can't vote for him. Okay? And this is what they did. Every Michigan Republican in the U.S. House, including that nasty stink ass Lisa McClain, the conference chair, Jack Bergman, John Molinaw, Bill Huizenga, Tim Walberg, Tom Barrett, Lisa McClain, voted for the GOP tax law that failed to extend the ACA tax credit. So don't vote for none of them damn low-down dogs that took away your health care, took away your SNAP, sent the state of Michigan into recession. You understand? This is Heavy Monte for the Heavy Monte podcast and the Heavy Monte Comedy Show, saying never, ever vote for a Republican in America. We have subscribers coming in. We've met our goal of 500, and right now in America, we have 707 subscribers in the short time I've been online, and I need everybody to subscribe and share the channel, so I can get the word out there. Look at my videos. I'm effective. I am the political progressive voice for the Democratic Party. Never, ever vote for a Republican. And please subscribe to the Heavy Montes YouTube channel.